In this episode, we are talking about 10 bad habits or 10 red flags that you might have, that other people might have, but you're still trying to build a healthy relationship. So we're going to identify them so that you have the opportunity to change them or to get away from them, especially when you're trying to build a healthy relationship. So continue to watch this episode right now. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Jasper. Today's topic, we're talking about relationship red flags. I think that this topic is so important because I had actually a tough time thinking of how to present this one, because I don't love the content that's just like, hey, here are 10 red flags to stay away from and blah, 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 because I do think that that's important, but I also think that we are all people, and sometimes that content can be always pointing the finger. And what I am focused on for myself, and what this podcast is focused on, is really pointing the finger at ourselves and identifying areas that we can, again, chasing our greater vision, our life, which means that in a level we have to be self-centered to be able to look at things and to be able to adjust and to be able to problem solve within ourselves so that we can make a better self and make a better world as a result. So these red flags, these personal red flags that I'm going to go down, I'm not going to list them like a quick 10 cap because I'm going to go through them relatively quick, and that's just kind of going to be the episode. But they are areas where you want to identify if they're within yourself. I will say, as I wrote these down, all 10 of these, I would say, are areas that I struggled with. And that's where I got these 10 from, were areas that I struggled with, and also actually aligned them a little bit with ChatGPT. I was like, hey, what are these areas? And I was like, man, I have a lot of concrete things that I struggled with that I was bringing red flags into a relationship. And so in seeing that, hey, I wanted to change that, then maybe I could limit those things and attract the right person. Thank God I have a beautiful fiance and everything now, but I had to do a lot of self-work to get there, and I'm still a work in progress. So I'm not perfect. That's not the message or ethos of this podcast. So number one is not having boundaries, no boundaries. Boundaries can be a bevy of things. It can be sexual boundaries. It can be lifestyle boundaries. If you don't know your boundaries, if you don't know your bottom line things of what the things that you have to have in a relationship, then you kind of end up settling for anything, and you end up going along to get along, right? And so what you want to do is make sure that you have solid boundaries, and that you communicate those solid boundaries, and then that other people also have boundaries. It's not a great thing to be in a relationship or try to get in a relationship with someone who's just who has no boundaries, who goes along to get along. Not that they're bad people. They might have, some areas as they grew up and everything that made them feel that way and be that way. But what you want is, you want to have people, and you want to be a person who has personal boundaries and communicate that and come to a level of agreement as to what works for you. Number two, controlling. I am a control freak. I am a perfectionist, and I'm a control freak. Now, that's a gift and a curse. It's a gift when everything hits a fan and I need to say, hey, here are all of the controllable variables, and here are things that we can control, and here's what we can do and will do about them. Boom, I can put a plan in place. I can execute a plan. What happens is, I try to control the uncontrollables, which gives me a lot of stress and anxiety, which makes me not the best person to be around, and especially back in the day, I've worked on it a lot. I'm not perfect with it, but I'm a whole lot better with it, because then I want to control things that you can't control. And then other people are sitting back being like, well, I don't want to be controlled by this person. I don't want this person to tell me what to do, how to feel, blah, 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 how to think. But for me, it came from a place of insecurity, because if I can control the variables, then I feel comfortable. If I feel comfortable, I feel safe. If I feel safe, okay, then all is well with my world. Doesn't matter how you feel, because I'm the most important person. It's a wrong way to go about it. If you are that person, you want to identify, recognize it, and find out ways to shift it. And if you are with a person like that, try to communicate that. And if it's something where it doesn't change, then you want to be cognizant of what you're getting yourself into if you decide to stay in the relationship or pursue that relationship. Number three, not trustworthy. Not trustworthy. There's two things. There's being honest and there's being transparent. Being honest is when you're asked a question, you tell the truth. Being transparent is, even if you're not asked a question, you are operating in honesty. You are giving information willingly that can be helpful to a relationship. Being trustworthy, I believe, encompasses all of that. It's being honest and it's being transparent. I was used to not being a very honest or transparent person. So in order to mask any insecurity so I could feel in control, so I could, feel like I was on a pedestal or anything like that. So over time, I realized, wow, that's affecting my dating life. And it's also affecting the people that I am dating because they're going at this with good intentions and I'm not going at this with good intentions. So I'm putting a whole lot of bad karma out there and eventually it's going to come back to me, right? So you want to make sure that from a trustworthy standpoint, you're being a person who is honest, telling the truth, transparent, living the truth, and then also with someone who's like that as well. Or I keep saying pursuing someone. Number 4, secretive behaviors. We all have things that are behind closed doors, right? Like as people, things should be private. Now, I say this when you're in a relationship, you want to make sure that you are open about all the things, because the thing that can get weird is then if somebody's with you for some time and then they find something out that you've been doing in secret and private for some time, and whether you struggle with it or not, but then they're just like, I feel like I didn't know you. The best thing that happened, I would say, that pushed Carly and I's relationship on a good trajectory, even though it took some time to get to a level of solidity, was that when we first started dating, I was like, here's all the things I struggle with. Here's all the stuff I was kind of doing in my past. It was not the best thing. Here are things that I'm still kind of working on myself. So she knew all of like the boogeymen in the closet before she got in it with me. Now, I say that as in, you don't on first date want to be like, hey, here's all the things. But over time, when I realized, okay, this person has a good heart or whatever, I'm just going to be open. So she can actually make a decision. Hey, is this something that she kind of wants to take on? Or is this something where she's just like, hey, this probably isn't for me. We actually don't align, because if this stuff came out later, it wouldn't work anyway. So secretive behaviors, whatever that is, it might be things that you also need to work on for yourself. And that's okay. We're not perfect, but those things are going to be something that is going to affect your relationship if you do not get them out in the open in some way, shape, or form or capacity, or if you don't work on them. Number 5, jealous or possessiveness. Jealousy tends to be because you don't feel secure. You're like, I need to just keep this person around and everything. I used to be that way because, if you're dating people and if other people find them attractive and everything, it's like, well, I didn't feel like I was the person who deserved to be in the relationship. So I could put on this front that I'm all confident, but I don't feel like that. So then my actions are jealous and possessive. And then vice versa. I've been in situations where actions were jealous and possessive. And I'm like, I'm just actually not doing anything. I'm chilling, but this is too much for me because now it's a headache and I'm trying to go through my life and work hard and everything. And I'm spending more time explaining myself. Number 6. This is me pointing at me. Overly critical. Why? Because I'm overly critical with myself. I'm critical. Like I said, I'm a perfectionist. I'm critical at every little piece. When I am locked on it, I'm like a dog on a scent trail. You can't get me off of it. That's why I would say it's a gift and a curse, because I can be very good at things when I lock in on them, I'm locked. It doesn't matter. It's hard to take me off. But that can be bad because I can be overly critical at small stuff with myself, with my partner. Carly's experienced it. Like last year, I talk about this, we went through couples counseling, and it was great because I realized like I'm being very overly critical about stuff that just like doesn't matter, that I can't control. And it was something where it was finally presented to me in my face, and I was like, oh, I'm like that of myself. Where I can manage that in myself is because I think, I can just outwork it. But when it comes to somebody else, that doesn't work. And it really doesn't work well for me. I just know how to manage it better with myself because I've been me for 33 years, right? But when it's somebody else, it's very weighty for somebody else. And they're just like, this is tough. Like, I don't know how to exist because I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, and it's not a healthy thing over time. And I can assure you, if we went down that road for too long, like that ends up being something that are small chips, nicks in the armor that end up breaking things. Number 7, unestablished life goals. This is more so when you want to get in long-term lasting relationships. When you're in your early 20s, honestly, what age you are, if you are just want to be in a dating phase and whatever, like you really don't need to have life goals. Like if you just want to like casually date and not anything serious, it doesn't matter what age you are. Like you don't have to have your life goals. You're just out there having fun, whatever. But when you're seriously looking to date, having some set in stone established life goals, not to say that they're going to to always pan out, but have some sort of direction to life. That helps because then you can see if your direction aligns with somebody else's direction, or if you can integrate the directions, because two will become one, but while maintaining their own individuality at the same time. You want to make sure that they have a level of established life goals, because if you're going to be walking life with someone, that means that you're walking in a direction. If nobody has anything established, then there's no direction. So what are you doing? Just walking in circles or zigzags? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're rounding the same tree. You want to make sure that you have some level of established life goals so that you can influence the other person in a positive way, so they can influence you in a positive way. Number 8, rapid escalation of a problem. This is something that I used to do a lot of, and I have to work on it on myself consistently, because like I said, when there's something that I focus on, it's the most important thing. Boom, we have to, whatever the problem is, we have to address it. We have to fix it. We have to do it now. Or if not, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel safe. I had to change that. Not everything is crazy critical. Problems happen all the times. Issues happen all the times. How you communicate about the problem, how you communicate your feelings, how you communicate the time you need before you can, calmly address the problem. Those are important things. My parents have been married for, I think, 37 years. And I have friends who've been married for some time. And, I've been in this relationship for 5 years, or going on 5 years. And it's funny because they say that, like, all the things that you think were a problem, like, over time, you're like, these things don't matter. Your calibration of what a quote unquote problem really is, it changes. And I've seen that. It's like some things, like, they're just not a big deal. There's way more important things in life. So if you're rapidly escalating problems, like, gain some new perspective. If someone is rapidly escalating problems to you, try to talk to them about gaining a little bit of more perspective about what's important. Number 9, extreme dependence or needy. For me, neediness in the past, it came from insecurity. It came from, I don't feel comfortable being alone. It came from, I don't feel comfortable just in my own skin. I need someone to validate me. That's why I went down the rabbit hole of, I'm just dating a lot of women. I'm just doing whatever, because I was like, I need someone to validate me. And I needed that. And if someone didn't validate me, it's like, okay, on to the next person who will validate me. You want to make sure that if you are in a dating relationship and if someone is needy, try to figure out where that comes from as well. And then it goes back to number 1, establish your boundaries around that. And if that person can grow and evolve and change based on healthy boundaries, then okay, cool. You walk in it. I'm not a believer of just throw out every relationship because problems arise. Like, what a relationship is going through life, seeing life's challenges and problems and attacking it together. If you look at any company and you go to work every day, what's your job? To problem solve. If you're playing a sport, what's a job? To win a game, to overcome a challenge. If you're in a relationship, what's the purpose of it? Is to build a life, a legacy, to go through life's challenges and to solve them together, to go through personal challenge, collective challenges, to solve them together. That is something where if people can problem solve with you, and if neediness is something that you can problem solve within yourself, then you're able to walk in a better direction. And number 10, addictions. Addictions can show up in every form. It's not just sexual. It's not just, drug related or whatever. Addictions can show up in, it can be work. It can be over, working out. It can be all these other things. It can be addictive personalities of stuff, right? Being able to at least communicate those and have your partner be the person that can help, not necessarily bring the person out, but give a person, I keep saying, a new perspective because it's so true, and see if you can see improvement in those areas. Like, I don't believe in just throwing people out. I think that, to be the right person, you have to be a loving and open person. But I also think that some red flags could be like, if you have your own addictions, they have their own addictions, but you need to figure out, hey, if this is worth it for you to stay in this thing, or you to continue to pursue this thing, or if you're going to work this thing, then at least they're at the forefront. And I'll say for guys, like, all these things as men, like, a lot of these things we need to disclose and talk about to each other. We need to have these conversations because, the one thing that I love about, when it's guy trips or guys time or whatever, I'm on the phone with some of my guys, it's like, we're open and honest about the tough things. And that's great because we realize, one, we're not alone. There's other people out there who are experiencing the same thing. There's things that we can talk about that maybe somebody's experienced. They've successfully got past it. Now I have the tools that I need to successfully get past it. Boom, I see how it worked for me. That little nuance, I pass it along to somebody else who needs it. And these things just make us better people. They make us better men. They make us better in relationships. It makes us easier to be around in the sense of, because we're more self-aware, so that not everything is about the other person's problem. I think that red flags and stuff, you can be a walking red flag, but then point the finger and say everybody else is a red flag. I used to do that. I was like, oh, everybody else is a problem. So I discard so many people. Everybody else is a problem. It's like, no, in a lot of areas, I was a problem. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this gives me a great opportunity to change and to be better. So for this episode, there is no word of the day. I just wanted to run through 10 red flags that you might have, that somebody else might have, especially when you're trying to build a healthy relationship. Healthy relationships are built on a healthy view of yourself, a view of areas of your shortcomings, a view of areas where you need to focus on getting it right. And then also viewing the other person and say, hey, if you see some red flags coming, you got to see, hey, is this something that I really want to walk into? Or is it something where I'm like, oh, I see this person as a net positive and I'm cool to work with it. That's okay too, right? So this episode, I hope that you enjoyed it. I just wanted to run through these things again. I think this is very important, especially for men, especially as we want to grow and especially as we want to be better. And I think there just needs to be more content out there that isn't just, black and white, like, oh, you got to do this to get this type of woman or whatever. No, it's like, this is genuinely about just being a better person. And these red flags aren't just with an intimate relationship. This is just relationships in general. Like, you want to make sure that you have these qualities or that you improve on these qualities so you're just a better person. So you're a better person for your family, for your partner, for your business, for your job, for everybody in every silo of life and every room that you go into. You improve these things, you will overall and over time become better. Now, are they going to be perfect as you try to improve them at the beginning? Absolutely not. But is it going to be good when you're self-aware about them? Absolutely. Now, again, all of these, I went through them all. I'm not just giving advice or whatever, just to say words because they sound nice. No. I point the finger at me on this podcast because it stems from things that I've been through, and it stems from things that I've overcome or am overcoming or am still working on that I'm talking through. So I hope that this episode helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Like, comment, share this message. I love doing this. I'm going to keep doing it. So I will see you next week. Peace. Thank you all so much for watching the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. If you like this podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, send it to friends, use a carrier pigeon, do whatever you have to do. We hope that this inspires you to chase your greater vision in your life and for us to continually and consistently do it together.